and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Let's begin straight away by telling you that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is not happy. They said millions of permanent voter cards are still lying on their table uncollected. The National Commissioner of INEC, Mr. Moghalu, said this at the launch of a campaign to drive the collection of permanent voter cards and increase the participation in the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise in Abuja and Nasarawa State. Take a listen to the INEC National Commissioner.
Ahead of the 2019 election, there were 84 million, PVCs, but I think close to 20 million. It may be a small percentage, but in terms of absolute number, that's huge. 20 million is probably more than the voters of so many West African countries put together. So PVC collection is very, very important. But of course, ahead of even the collection itself is the registration, because until you register, you cannot collect. And that also has been a problem. Typical of our attitude, we've been waiting till the last minute. The rec just told you now that there are over 300 people in our FCT head office. That's just the head office. We don't know how many we have in all the area councils.
Well, presidential aspirants of the APC are appearing before the screening committee here in Abuja since yesterday, but there is one of them who has since been locked up in the FCC custody and not able to do so, and that is the former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha. Today, the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted bail to the former governor and presidential aspirant, Rochas Okorocha. He was granted bail by Justice INEC in the sum of 500 million naira and a surety in like sum. Justice INEC gave the order while ruling on the bail application filed by Okorocha, who currently represents Imo West Senatorial District in the National Assembly. The former governor is being tried on a 17-count charge to the tune of 2.9 billion filed against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. He was accused of conspiring with others, including a member of the APC and 5 companies, to steal from public coffers, although he has since denied any wrongdoing. President Buhari has not hidden the fact that he has a preference and a favorite person to succeed him, especially as far as the APC flag is concerned, who to fly it. Now, today, he had a discussion. I want to let you know yet what that is all about. But we'll check out some of your political roundup stories. And when we come back, there was one person who was privy to that meeting. He was in that meeting, and that person is in the room, in the studio here tonight with us. So stay with me. After the political roundup, I will unveil the person to you. Stay with us.
President Muhammadu Buhari has today departed Abuja for Madrid, Spain, at the invitation of the Spanish President Pedro Sanchez. The President will meet with the head of state of the Spanish nation, His Majesty King Felipe VI. President Buhari is expected to discuss issues of mutual interest to both countries, which will expectedly result in the signing of agreements and memoranda of understanding on a wide range of topics geared towards further enhancing the bilateral relations between the two nations. The President is expected to be back in the country on Friday, June the 3rd. The national chairman of the Zenith Labour Party, Dan Wayanwu, has labeled those accusing the Independent National Electoral Commission of doing the bidding of the ruling All Progressives Congress by adjusting the timetable of party primaries by 6 days as ignorant. Speaking at a news conference in Abuja, the chairman of the party says the idea was purely that of the political parties and not INEC.
This window of 6 days we now have has nothing to do with favoring any political party.
Son of the late former governor of Kwara State, Mohammed Lawal, has emerged as the Kwara State governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party. Mr. Lawal defeated 2 other aspirants to emerge the winner of the primary election for the second time in less than 1 week. He had earlier emerged as a candidate of the party, but the primary election was cancelled due to a petition written against his victory. A former aide to President Goodluck Jonathan, Dr. Umar Ado, has emerged as the governorship candidate for the Social Democratic Party, SDP, for the 2023 general elections. Umar Ado, who was the sole contestant at the primaries conducted in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, garnered all the 678 votes of the delegates to affirm his emergence in the presence of the resident electoral commissioner of INEC in Adamawa state, Kasim Gaidam. Announcing the result after the affirmation, the chief returning officer from the national headquarters of the SDP, Mustafa Jibrila, describes the exercise as frank or free. In the build-up to the June 18 governorship election in Ekiti State, key players are worried about a possible repeat of vote buying, which they say was a downside of the 2018 edition. The electoral umpire says it has designed a means to counter the menace, as frontline civil society and rights protection groups are equally assuring vote buyers of a bad outing this time.
I am certain that an example will be made of a number of vote buyers in this election.
And the Cross River Independent Electoral Commission has announced a date for the local government council elections. The chairman of the commission, Professor Mike, explained that the elections are scheduled to hold on 24th of May 2023, while activities have already begun today. The chairman advises everyone to take advantage of the period and make things right.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get to it. The All Progressives Congress, APC, has continued the screening of its presidential aspirants today, ahead of the party's primary scheduled to take place between the 6th of June and the 8th. A total of 11 presidential hopefuls are expected to appear before the APC Presidential Screening Committee, led by a former Edo State governor and a former APC national chairman, John Oyegun. Well, today at that screening, which is holding at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, and presidential aspirant who also appeared before the committee, was answering questions. And take a listen to what he had to say when he was asked how the screening went, and also what he makes of Atiku Abubakar emerging as the candidate of the PDP, whether it's a threat to the APC. Take a listen to the Vice President.
The screening went very well received. So we were able to discuss several issues of national and party concerns, and it went very well indeed. We had a very good chat. Well, of course, way ahead of any party. Way ahead.
Well, other aspirants were there after the meeting, which we caught up with after the meeting. One of them is the governor of Cross River State, Professor Ben Ayade, who is not happy with how money is being used at primaries. And these are his views.
It's very obvious that this country has to make progress. It has to bring young people with capacity who have been tested and proven. It's important for us to know that the trend in this country is getting very worrisome, where success in elections is a function of how much money you're paying. The problem of this country is gradually moving from leaders to followers, because when there's a leadership structure that is being promoted by virtue of how much money you have to pay, it means that the citizens of the country have mortgaged their future for the person who can pay. Let me say it very clearly that I would not put money. If you really want to come and serve and you have to pay to be given a position to serve, then definitely you're not coming for service. A situation will come where you have no business to build a project or do any major project, because basically it is not a basis for your re-election or indeed an election in the first instance. What matters is accumulate cash and buy delegates. It's a horrible trend. Nigeria cannot lead Africa in that direction, and this has to change. And I hope that our party will come up with a program of doing a critical analysis and appraisal of each of the candidates of the party to see what they have done, look at their capacity, their qualifications, and then come up with an understanding to present a candidate that will have so much vitality and experience and history to present.
President Muhammadu Buhari met with governors of the APC, where he disclosed his criteria for the ideal presidential candidate of the APC in the 2023 election. In a statement released after the meeting, the president says, quote, "Our objectives must be the victory of our party, and our choice of candidate must be someone who would give the Nigerian masses a sense of victory and confidence even before the elections," end of quote. Let's get a feel of what was said today and how that meeting panned out. I'm being joined by one of the governors of the APC present at that meeting, an engineer turned politician, and who recently got a ticket of the APC for a re-election, the executive governor of Nasarawa State, Governor Abdullahi Sule, is live with us right here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much.
I must congratulate you for your the victory that you got at the governorship primaries in your state.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It almost looked like an unopposed ticket for you, but there was still a contest.
It was still a contest, and I'm happy actually that she did. A northern woman coming out very strongly, but a very professional woman, you know, and a lot of people could try to convince her, you know, to try to plead with her to step down. And I was one of those that said, no, she should go throughout the system to see how it will end. And she did. And she came out actually and did a wonderful job at the end of the time. She accepted and said a lot of good things about the party, and she said she was going to remain as part and parcel of the party. I'm sure the next election she will have more experience and she will do better than what she did.
How tough do you think the general election will be, the governorship election in Nasarawa?
Well, it will definitely be a little bit tougher than this, but it will more or less be a rerun. You know, the PDP gave the ticket to the same person that we beat in 2019.
From the north?
Huh?
From the north. He's a candidate of the PDP, but he's from the northern region of Nasarawa State, is he?
So am I. I also came from the same zone. You know,
so it's going to be a battle of the north? In Nasarawa?
We had a Battle of the North in 2019, so we are repeating the Battle of the North in 2023, so it's not anything different.
You think you have done enough to convince the people of Nasarawa State for a re-election?
I think I have no doubt we have done enough, not just me. You know, it's not just about one person. We have senators that have done very, very well because we have all the 3 senators from APC.
You almost lost them to the party politics.
Not really. Well, one of them had to drop because he was not very happy with what happened, you know, but the other 2 are remaining. You know, the other one became the national chairman, you know, and the other one was completely unopposed to see how good they did.
Do you think that Senator Abdullahi becoming the party national chairman of APC will help your cause in the election?
Oh, definitely. It will help the cause of the election a lot. So far, we have he has a lot of influence of what is happening within the party, and he's a very experienced, perhaps the most experienced politician we have in the state. He was the first executive governor of the state, and then he is actually doing enough and playing the role of a father figure.
What do you think as a governor that perhaps will be what the voters will be remembering? I have a few things that the voters are already saying in Nasarawa State, but from your mind, what do you think that the voters will be on the minds of the voters when they go to the polls that could remind them of whether to vote you or not to vote you? Anything that stands out?
Number one is security. Number one, the people of Nasarawa constantly are talking about security. Today, Nasarawa is doing very, very well in agriculture because our people can go to the farms. Nasarawa is number 1 now in sesame seed in the country. Nasarawa is number 2 in yam production in the country. Nasarawa State is number 5 in rice production in the country. So the farmers remember that. They will remember that we have opened up all the other rural areas. We have constructed some of the roads. We have opened up and get people things to do. They will remember the fact that we have brought in ideas about making sure that people will be able to bring out their things and take them back. They will remember all the development that we have brought in, and one of the biggest things they will remember is the fact that Nasarawa is more or less a civil service state. Since we came into the state, we actually did away with the percentage salaries for local government workers and for pensioners. So they will remember that we have now been paying 100% salary, 100% pension allowances, both for the state and local government, and that we are up to date on that one. They will also remember that we have paid them all the backlog allowances at the state level. So they will remember a lot about what we are doing. But when you talk about what stands out, I'm just trying to tell you what stands out. Education, we have done so much. We have carried out a baseline survey about what has happened in the state, and we are working on that. So I think the people themselves are saying so much about what we have done.
You generate about 16.8 billion in IGR in 2021, and you said you are targeting 18 billion in 2022.
Correct.
That's your plan.
Correct.
What you met and what you are doing presently in Nasarawa State, how much of a fortune do you think you have added in terms of the revenue to the coffers of the state? How much can you calculate it in the last 3.5 years?
In 2019, when we came in, we came in and we spent 7 months, and then 5 months were by the previous administration. And in that year, collectively, we generated 7-point-something billion. So you can imagine now from 2019, 2020, 2021, and then now 2022, we have now generated over 16 billion. So we have gone like 9 billion actually, and
above the mark that you made.
Above the mark we made in 3 years.
Well, Nasarawa governors, I know if you get to it, we might be on for so many minutes. So, but it's one of those issues I wanted to take you up with, but okay. Because our agenda here on this program especially is how much of the politics and governance that the people can feel. And that's why I do not take for granted the fact that policy and governance need to be discussed at any point in time when we find a public officer like you on the program. But let me go into the meeting of today with the president. Who is the consensus candidate of the APC for the president?
The president clearly mentioned that. The president said that, and I think you just mentioned that in your speech. He said, the president said that our consensus candidate or our candidate to be selected must be somebody acceptable to Nigerians, somebody who understands what APC is all about, what APC is after, and he mentioned clearly that is somebody that will go to every part of the country and be accepted, similar, to what Muhammadu Buhari has said. We must bring somebody that can win election and be able to sustain all the good things that APC has done. So that's exactly the definition of the president. But if you are looking for a name, the president didn't mention a name, neither did anybody mention a name. So he gave us that in a blog and allowed us to think of the right person, in these past few days while he's in Spain. So when he comes back, then everybody can say, okay, we have thought about it, and we believe is Sheun who is going to be president.
So he asked the governors to go and think about that person and come back to him.
No. He just told us his dream of who will be president. That's it. My dream of who will be president is this, and I'm going to also consult with other stakeholders, not just the governors. I'm going to consult also with other stakeholders and the aspirants themselves. At the end of the day, we must remain a united party. I think that's just the dream of the president.
So he gave a description, but from his description, who comes to mind for you?
For me, I have not even started thinking about that yet, but I think we will do that when we go back and we sit with other stakeholders. There are so many stakeholders in my own state, and then we'll sit down and I say, okay, who do you think? I just told you now, national chairman happens to be from our state. My previous governor, the previous governor, my predecessor from the state, I have so many other people. So we'll consult together, and then we'll come up with who we believe very strongly from our own point of view will be the right person.
Do you think in your mind that the president is working from answers to question?
And I think that's the way to go. He has to work from answers to question, to say that, yes, the president should be this, and this, and now the question is, who is the person? And then we say, well, going by this definition of yours, the person is Mr. X.
Because he had said it, that he has a favorite. He said it, that he has a preferable candidate, person to be the flag bearer of the APC. So one will wonder why we'll allow everybody, since he has, and that person will likely be the flag bearer of the APC. So the question on the minds of everyone is, why make people go through this rigor when you already have someone that you're going to as your preferred candidate, and which is likely to be the candidate of the APC?
No, I think one thing is that what you just say he said, I wasn't there. Or at least
he said it to us.
Oh, okay.
That's an exclusive interview.
Oh, okay.
And we asked him.
Okay.
He said, look, I do not want to reveal the person because I don't want them to go after the person.
That's very hypothetical, though.
Yeah, because but he said that he has a preferred candidate.
Yeah. So at our meeting, he didn't say that. Okay, so that's the reason why I say it is your meeting that he says that. So in our own meeting, at least he didn't say, I have somebody, you know. He just said that we as people, we as APC should come up with the person who has this, and this. And that's...
Well, it looks to you that he has a preferred candidate from the way he spoke.
I don't think it looks to me that way. I think it looks to me that every one of us should collectively think and come up with the right person.
So when are you meeting the president again? To decide?
No, we have not been told that yet, because the president on his arrival, you know, is going to meet with, you know, from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is going to be lots of meetings. So we may even meet more than once, you know, so, and he may meet other people more than once. So that's the way it goes, you know. That period is period of a lot of consultations, and I don't think it's a situation where the president will just say that this is the person, take him, you know, or leave him, you know. I don't think it's going to be that. If it's going to be that, then he wouldn't be inviting people for consultations and the rest of that.
Well, I mean, if you imagine that it was left to the president, which in the case of the national chairman of the party, he had, I mean, his thoughts and his decision held sway for the party. It was just a case of he wrote it down and said, this is the candidate, this is our national chairman, and that was what meant to be. So in that sense, if it was left to the president, who in your mind do you think would be?
To be honest with you, I don't know. And I'm being very, very honest. You know, I'm very honest with you. I can't think about who the president has in mind. I have not heard from anybody, you know, who says, I think the president says this, you know, and things like that. You know, so that's a president, really, that keeps things to himself. But, you know, it's different from being the chairman of APC. Chairman of APC is chairman of our own family, you know, is the father. This one is talking about the whole nation. We have 18 political parties in the country or something like that, and then we have millions of people who don't belong to any other party. So you're talking of a country of 200 million people. So definitely, whatever the president is going to say has to take into consideration these other people, because he's a president of everybody, not president of just APC.
Left with you and your colleagues, governors, who would you rather pick?
That's what we are going to work on. That's what
has the governor met? The governors, have they met?
The governors were having this meeting, but because I made a commitment to you, I had to
Yes, I truly need to apologize, because you said it, that you had this commitment, but because you have told us that you were going to grace this event, I mean, this
as I'm talking interview to you, the governors are actually meeting right now, and I will leave here and rush.
And I don't take it for granted. I'll do as much as I can to release you on time.
No problem.
But for the governors, would you have picked one of you?
If we find one of us the best, we will pick him.
But you prefer to be one of you, to be president. And it feels good when one of you sits at that seat, isn't it?
No, honestly, as I said, you know, we may have somebody who is not a governor. I think I answered this, maybe it wasn't on this show, it's with Ladi, you know, when he was asking me, must the next president be from the governors? And I said, no. I don't think so. You know, I think we may even have a president who had never been a governor and may play a fantastic president whatsoever. So I don't belong to that group where we have, you know, this inclination that it has to be a governor, has to be a senator, has to be this, you know, to be honest with you.
But you have your own preferred person, or you have a preferred aspirant?
We will sit down together and come up with
I'm talking about engineer Abdullahi Sule, not Governor Sule.
No, as AA Sule, I have somebody in mind that I like.
Who is that person?
No, I can't disclose that.
You've already told me once, though.
No, well, I can't.
On this program. Maybe you don't want to say it now.
No,
or maybe you've changed your mind since then.
No, I have not changed my mind. But even on this program, on that period, you know, you asked me, I think when there was a visit, and I say, yeah, he's one of the most sellable candidates. You know, and so many other candidates also have come up. I have not changed my mind. I strongly believe, you know, that we have very, very strong contenders for that. You know, and depending on the way the debate goes.
Should that person you are thinking or you have as a preferred candidate, as Governor Sule, becomes the candidate of the APC, can the person, for example, go head-to-head with an Atiku Abubakar?
No doubt.
And can defeat an Atiku Abubakar in the race?
You see, Atiku Abubakar is somebody I have so much respect for. He's a very experienced person. I have personal relationship with him. is a wonderful human being. But Atiku Abubakar is not actually going to go against just the candidate. He's going against the party APC. You understand? So you have to understand it from that perspective. So he has more work to do, because he has to convince people that I can do better than this particular person and better than APC.
Is your party sellable right now?
Oh, fantastic. The party is having more people coming into the party.
Does that matter when you have more membership? Does it mean that you're successful?
No. Not just more membership. It is having actually key stakeholders, governors of other states, that are leaving their other party to come to this party.
But these are politicians. We're talking about the interests of Nigerians, the average Nigerians who actually are assessing your party based on what you promise and what you are delivering.
Yeah.
Do you think that Nigerians think that your party has done well? Based on the promises made?
You see, it depends. This government came into power on 3 legs: on security, on economy, and on fighting corruption. Just in the news right now, I saw you showing Rochas Okorocha, former chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, staunch stakeholder of the APC, one of the leaders of the APC, being arrested after he acquired a farm in the process of fighting corruption. If that gentleman was PDP, the whole country will now go. They were after him because he's PDP. So if it is not fighting corruption, what is that? I think...
But if you say that, people will also make reference to people that are being granted amnesty, who are jailed and convicted shortly before this government came to power.
Well, some of this...
Is that fighting corruption too?
No. It's not shortly before they came to power. Some of these people were actually convicted in this government. You are talking of Nyame and Darie. And I was part of the meeting that actually went through to even did that. And for your information, during the same meeting, more names were presented. And some of those names were denied. During the same meeting that you are talking about. And the conditions, it was not PDP government that actually convicted them. And both of them were PDP. It was this same government actually that sent them to jail. It wasn't PDP.
You think if APC was a product that people would use their money to buy, you think that Nigerians will use their money to buy into APC today?
I will use
Nigeria today.
I will use my money. And I think a lot of people will use their money to buy.
Because you are a governor of the APC.
No. I'm a governor of the APC in Nasarawa State. If you go to Nasarawa State and see people who are not politicians, who talk nicely about this government. If you go to Borno and see a lot of people who talk about the administration of APC and APC as a government. You see, you are trying to refine it more. I do understand. You are trying to box it more to challenges in some particular areas. You are not looking at the totality of it. Because if you talk even about the economy, you may be looking at one section of the economy. You are not looking at totality of it. Those are the issues that I'm talking about.
Perhaps because of your meeting, let me anchor on this note. As the emergence of Atiku Abubakar or Peter Obi, for example, change anything in the thinking of the major stakeholders of the APC, especially an Atiku Abubakar? Has it changed the manner in which the APC would have addressed or the side on who fly its flag? Maybe from what we're hearing, your party may be considering enough.
I think all along the party knew there was Wazir and Adama was actually part and parcel of and he could actually win. So the APC already had that in mind. So it wasn't a surprise. The party knew he was a very, very strong contender in PDP, and he could win. And majority of the people within the APC actually, believed that he could win, and he won. So it's not a surprise. Therefore, most of the plans that are going on within APC already had taken that consideration that he could be the candidate. So I don't think it's a new thing.
And that's not a threat for your party.
I don't see what you consider a threat.
You've beaten him once, last time. You think you can defeat him again?
As I told you, Atiku Abubakar is not just facing an individual in APC. He's facing the totality of APC. 22 governors right now and counting. You understand? Facing all the things that APC has done at the federal level. taking all the things that the federal government has done, infrastructural development, this and that has done. You can't just pick security as an issue. You have to pick the totality. No, I'm saying you cannot just pick that, in close. You have to look at the totality of the picture.
But so you're saying that it's going to be difficult for Atiku to beat any of your candidates?
I don't say any. Our ideal candidate is going to be very difficult for Atiku Abubakar to beat him.
We'll try to bring you back on the program and we'll discuss that more. When the ideal candidate emerges, if your ideal candidate emerges, because your ideal candidate might not be President Buhari's preferred candidate. Governor Abdullahi Sule, thank you so much for coming tonight. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Despite your tight schedule and your meeting, you still grace this program tonight.
No, it's not your fault. I didn't know there was going to be a meeting actually when I agreed to the program. So that's
you're a man of your words.
Yeah, and I had to do that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We take a break, everyone, and when we come back, we'll talk more on the issue of 2023 presidential election. I'll be having one of the top contenders in the race, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, will be joining us, a former central bank deputy governor, a lawyer, and an economist. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Well, let's get talking. Now, the race is not a two-horse race, as far as I can see, because when the likes of Peter Obi left the PDP for Labour Party, it does look like things are being blown wide open as far as the race for the 2023 presidential election is concerned. There are others who are now experienced. They were newcomers the last time, but now they are more experienced. I'm being joined by one of them. He is a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and 2023 presidential aspirant of the ADC, African Democratic Congress. Professor Kingsley Moghalu joins us live here in our studio. Thank you so much, Prof, for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
To add also that you're an economist and you're a lawyer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me start by asking you, Prof, your primaries is
June 8th.
June the 8th.
African Democratic Congress.
To the very last minute.
Well, there were a number of reasons why we decided to do that. Yes.
And I understand that you have about almost 12 or thereabout.
About 12. Yes, we have 12 aspirants for the presidency in the ADC. Yes, we call ourselves the 12 pillars of the ADC.
Or the 12 disciples.
Or the 12 disciples.
You think you can get it, the ticket?
I hope so. But, we are discussing, it's a very open, in fact, today we had a meeting of the 12 aspirants with the party leadership, where we discussed all aspects of the convention. So we're developing a very unique culture in the ADC, where all of us who are aspirants are like family members. We're like members of a family. So it's not a personal competition against each other. We're working for the interest of the party and the interest of Nigerians and Nigeria. A week ago or so, we also had another event that was carried on live TV, where the aspirants made a pitch to Nigerians saying what their own view of the country was and what they would like to achieve as president or what they bring to the table. So as far as I know, no other political party in Nigeria does this or has done this. So we're bringing a lot of innovation into the electoral system in 2023.
Does the ADC has the kind of structure that can win a presidential election?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I was discussing this with you the last time, you may not understand the context, but now you do understand.
I fully understand, informed by experience.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when I had this conversation with people who entered into the arena the last time, they told me it doesn't matter what... I know the Green Party in the United States have been there for as long as we can remember. They win this and win that, but they've not been able to come to the national stage and make an upset.
Yes.
Now, before you can give an upset to the existing structures of political party system in Nigeria, you must have a structure that can win elections. And that's why I asked the question.
Absolutely. We're in every local government area in Nigeria, the ADC, not just in every state. So the basic structure is there, and it's quite decent. Now, for the election, we are going to shore up that structure in a number of ways. I mean, it's whoever emerges as the presidential candidate. Speaking, for example, about myself, there are a number of alliances that have endorsed me and pledged to support me in 2023, at least 5 or 6. And each one of them has grassroots presence in every ward in Nigeria. That's a structure right there. But even more important is for us to educate the people of Nigeria about what the issues are so that they select leaders who can actually solve their problems of no water, no light, no good hospitals. The educational system is permanently on strike. That's the big issue. If we just do the politics of structure but no quality when you look at the candidates or the parties, then we're actually doing a disservice to ourselves as a country, because politics should not exist for its own sake. Politics exists to bring about good leadership that makes people's lives better. That is what has developed America. That is what has developed Japan. That's what has developed Germany. We cannot, in Nigeria, continue to do stomach infrastructure and just politics of quote-unquote structure. But the leadership quality is not high. And increasingly, the quality of the followership is also weak, because the followers must also take part of the responsibility for what we're going through in this country today. No question.
I asked that question because as much as you want to discuss issues, you also, I mean, in America and the UK, these are fundamental issues.
Yes.
You need to also grow yourself as individuals in the political system.
Yes.
And then you get the ticket, then be able to, no matter who you are, you need to also prove to your party members that you can do it.
Absolutely.
My political instinct, reason, when I was in the university, I thought I was a very popular candidate in my department until I was beaten silly by someone who was perceived as less popular than I was. He did the work. 5 a.m. in the morning, he went to the hostels to campaign.
Exactly.
And I was thinking that I was popular, hoping to go into the election.
Exactly.
It was my agent that was crying from upstairs where the vote was being counted that told me I had lost. I thought I was popular. So
this is one of the lessons I learned from 2019.
So that's why I'm going to ask you.
Absolutely. That's why.
What's the biggest lesson that you took away from 2019 election?
The biggest lesson I took away, there were several lessons. The people themselves in 2019 were not ready for a change. That was perhaps even the most important lesson. The second big lesson...
Were you disappointed, sorry, about that?
Yes, I was.
That the people that you were fighting for?
Yes.
And we can name, give names.
That's why
the Ganifa enemies of this world.
That's why I spoke about the need for us to educate Nigerians.
How much of that have you done?
We are doing it, and we'll do even more of it as we move forward towards 2023. So I said that was one big lesson. Another big lesson was that for as long as that electoral framework remained, only the APC or PDP could be competitive. But we have changed the electoral framework, which is a big outcome. So this election is not going to be about only the APC or the PDP. You can take that to the bank. I'm telling you, this election is going to be very different in many ways. The third lesson I learned was that you have to be structural in Nigerian politics. That is to say, you have to go word by word, polling unit by polling unit, state by state, and canvass for your votes. In addition to whatever you do on the airwaves, whatever you do on social media, all these things must work together for you to win. These are some of the lessons I've learned. So I've learned quite a few lessons about politics, and that's why in this cycle, I have not been overexcited. I've focused on my primaries. I've focused on the internal party workings. When we make a decision as a party and as a family about who will represent us in the elections, if it happens to be me, then I pivot to the general election. I have deliberately not been running a general election campaign without getting the party ticket. I think that is not very smart.
No, that's another experience that you are bringing to the table. And you probably now stand as one of the most experienced out of the lot.
Absolutely.
Not only that, you're grounded in policy and governance issues based on your experience and developmental issues.
Yes.
As an economist, as a lawyer, being in the central bank and all of that, you have also garnered some political experience, which is now pushing you forward. Now, the question is...
An international experience as a
United Nations official. So, now, great. Now, I personally am fascinated by your profile. It's intimidating in what sense. Anybody that's gone through any institution we know, this is not easy to have gotten all of those. And there are a lot of professors also in the different political parties. Now, it makes it interesting. We can have intellectual conversation about this country.
Yes,
now, why the choice of ADC?
I chose the ADC because outside of the two parties, it struck me as the strongest party. It struck me, it's come third or fourth in two of the last presidential elections, 2019 and I think 2015. So obviously, therefore, it's a party that has presence and has promise. So what we are doing in 2023 is that we want to move from the third place to the first place. We don't want to be only the third force. We will also be the first force. So the ADC also is very grassroots oriented. It's a very grassroots-oriented party, and at the same time, respects ideas and intellect. If you look at most of its presidential candidates, they've been intellectuals, and yet the party is very grassroots-oriented. It is that combination of the understanding of the issues and capacity and competence with the ability to translate it into the grassroots that we need for transformation in this country.
Do you have National Assembly members?
We do, yes. We have one at this point, and we had several members of Houses of Assembly that were elected in 2019. However, what happens, of course, is that the bigger parties will try to push many of these people after they've been elected on the platform of smaller parties. So, but this time around, you know, we're growing ourselves into a much stronger and bigger force, and that is not going to happen. We are going to run very strong races down ballot, and it's one of the things we discussed today, actually, at our meeting with the party leadership.
As a man from Anambra State,
yes,
Southeast, I was trying to remember your town in
Nnewi,
Nnewi, yeah, a very popular trade-oriented area in
spare parts.
Yes, of course. And you've told that line. You've been in business also. So now, from someone from Nnewi, Anambra State, Southeast Nigeria.
Yes.
Did Peter Obi's going out of PDP to Labour Party trigger anything in the political space?
Well, you know, as a general rule, I do not discuss personalities who are either actual or potential competitors. I think it's for the public, the voting public.
You know the reason why I asked that?
To assess.
Yeah, you know the reason why I asked the question?
Go ahead, yes, why?
I mean, there has been an agitation. In 2019, it was not an issue.
Oh, you mean for a president to come from the Southeast?
Extraction, yeah.
Yes,
the question is that he left the PDP for some reasons.
Yes.
And after he left, there were a lot of reactions. And when Atiku Abubakar emerged in the PDP, it also caused some reaction. And we have seen leaders from that region speaking about it.
Yes.
And you are also a frontline aspirant in that sense.
Yes.
So and that's the reason why I asked if it triggered any kind of thought from your region.
Well, you know, the way I look at these things is I've sent a congratulatory message to my friend and brother, Peter Obi, on social media. I have also sent a congratulatory message to Atiku Abubakar, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, because I look forward to meeting them on the campaign terrain and on the debate stage, should I be the one the party ADC selects as its presidential candidate. So I'm quite open in my mind about these things. Yes, there is an agitation for a Nigerian president from the Southeast. And I think it's a justified agitation, by the way, which means that we should find the most competent persons, you know, from that region, as well as from other regions, to compete. Now, in 1999, Olusegun Obasanjo and Olufalaye were opposing candidates in the elections. They were from the same region. In 2007, President Buhari today was opposing President Yaradua. They are from the same state, Katsina. So in 2019, President Buhari and Atiku were also in competition from the same region. So therefore, to make the point that the more the merrier.
Interesting. But do you see a president of the Southeast extraction in 2023?
I see it. I see it. I see it happening.
And who could that be?
I hope it will be me.
Do you think it could be you? I mean, you hope. I mean, hoping and having a strong belief that it could be you.
Absolutely. It could be me. It could be me. Because if I am selected by my party and I become the candidate, I have a strategy to win. And I will deploy it. And we can very well win. So 2023 is going to be very different from 2019. People are tired of the APC and the PDP, increasingly. You know, the APC and the PDP have had internal crisis, partly as a result of these issues of zoning, but partly also for other reasons. But I think that, you know, what we're seeing today in these parties, the extreme monetization of their politics is a bomb that is waiting to explode. I think they will not fare well from it.
So, I mean,
that I can tell
if one of your big lessons in 2019 was that Nigerians were not ready for a change,
yes.
Do you think they are right now?
More and more they are. We'll have to test whether they've gotten to that tipping point. But we can also bring them to that tipping point with a kind of campaign that communicates a hope for change and a call to action. That's what people can move beyond where they would have normally moved if a campaign makes them take that move. So, yes, I see that possibility. Very strong, actually.
So now, is at this point, this I think is the most critical part of this conversation.
Yes.
And for me, any opportunity for any person who wants to be Nigeria's president, the test of their ability is in one of these questions that I like to ask, and is the fact that what would you do differently?
Yes.
And I don't like to benchmark performance on the dates you arrive in office. Okay. But if there is an urgency for Nigerians to see performance from anybody who wants to be Nigeria's president, then I think that in the first 3 months of getting into office, there must be some drastic measures that could be taken.
3 months,
for you,
3 months is too long. Let me explain to you, Sean. If I become the president of Nigeria today, you will begin to see a change in this country the next morning. Why? Because the first thing I would do is to build the team. We say nobody succeeds alone. No leader succeeds alone. 60–70% of your success as a leader depends on the team that you build around you. You cannot, as president, be every day running foreign affairs, running the economy, running solid minerals, running the health ministry. No, it depends on the team you have put together. So I will put together a dream team that will make the work lighter for me. I will provide the leadership, but I can go to sleep knowing that Mr. A or Mrs. B or Ms. B is competent to handle his or her schedule. That's the first difference you will notice, the quality of the team. The second thing is the tone that I will set as president. You see, there is a way to create inspiration in citizens by communicating to them a hope that they can be better and that our society can be better. So this also you will find when I become president, because therefore I can galvanize Nigerians into action in a positive direction very quickly.
I can't wait for us to put to test some of your ideas when you get a ticket.
Like
but let's leave it to when you get the ticket.
Absolutely.
So we don't put it out there, and at the end of the day, it's get lost in the wind.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Kingsley Moghalu.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Shehu, for having me.
Thank you so much. Just before we go, let's tell you that guest yesterday, Robbie Umusun Kwamkonso of the NNPP party, has gone through the screening of his party, albeit the sole aspirant who obtained the NNPP form. And that's how we close our program tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.